How's it going, everybody? This is Beat the Bush. Today I want to show you guys this 48 amp EV charger from EVIQO. They call this the EVI Power. It's the only charger with a 4.9 star rating on Amazon. Awarded as the best EV SE in 2024 by ZDNet, Inside EVs and State of Charge. They have the toughest fully rubberized connector with a metal tab on the market. The longest charging cable you can legally have, which is 25 foot. UL compliant, energy certified, ETL and FCC certified. Top class ingress protection and heavy duty design with an IP66 rating, 9 times faster than a basic portable charger, and a highly functional mobile app with 3 schedules. EVIQO's EV charger is one of my top choices for a hardwired EV charger. I started with a level 1 charger. It charges about 5 to 6 miles an hour. This one right here will do up to 50 miles, about 9 times as more powerful as the slowest level 1 chargers. First I had a level 1 and then I got something a little bit faster at 32 amps, 40 amps, and finally at 48 amps. Why do you want it so fast? Because sometimes when you make a long trip, you basically deplete the entire battery, you get home with barely anything. The next day you want to still go out and have fun and have plenty of battery left. So the ideal situation is you get back at night, you charge it overnight, and it should be full the next day. In order to do that, you need something like a 48 amp charger. So how do you install something like this that requires a hardwired connection? Full disclosure here, I installed this myself. I just took some wires from here, routed it into this box. This is one of these connection boxes, and I've heard people say, oh, this is not very good for EV chargers because of the continuous current. So going forward, I probably would replace this one with one of those large switches that you pull up and down for on-off switching. So if you don't know what you're doing, get it done by an electrician. I've heard people quote prices between $500 to $1,000 and they'll install this box for you. Now, after you have the box installed, they could install the EV charger for you, or if you're kind of handy with electrical work, you just have to make sure that the breaker here is turned off. I would double check it with the voltmeter, even if it looks off and stuff, just to make sure there's no voltages there. And once you have the EV charger, all it takes is to put 2 mounting plates on the wall. One for the charger and one for the connector holster. So that's just 8 screws, and then you connect these 3 wires into this box. You make sure all the connections are set up properly, you turn it on, and everything is go. There are just so many hardwired EV chargers that you can buy out there. I'd say about 25% that I've come across, they're not actually UL certified. UL certification means they put it through all these tests. They might do some high current tests just to make sure that it functions as advertised and that it's not gonna burn up or anything. For example, if they use really cheap thin wires, it might overheat, and a UL test will actually catch that. If, for example, the connector doesn't make a good connection with the car, a UL test would also catch something like that as well. There's a long list of things that they test for. So as long as you see that there's an UL certification, then you have some amount of guarantee that this is gonna work much better than ones that doesn't. The most noticeable differences would be how the app integrates well with the charger itself. Before I install this, let me show you what's included in the box. Electric vehicle smart EV charger 48 amps. There's a contact card, piece of cardboard, piece of foam, installation guide, the charger itself, wall mount templates, the charge holster, and a bunch of mounting screws. That's all the contents. We have the roller cable, the charge plug. Let me open this up. I like how there's a rubberized strain relief right here. There's a rubber cover for the connector. It feels high quality with this higher density type of plastic. So it looks like you gotta thread it through and you would use it like this. The power cable is approximately 37 inches long and the charge cable is a generous 25 feet long. Seems solid enough. The backing plate comes installed onto the charger. There's a security screw that holds it on the left and right side. And this is a Torx type with a center pin. So although it is a security screw, if you have the proper tools, you can still open this. The backing plate comes off. Let's see this. Press on this to disconnect it. typical strain release for the giant cables, bunch of relays to connect the input and output together. This cable here is to the more sensitive electronics. There's a sheen on it. This is an insulating layer and it protects the electronics from the high voltage. On the lid, there are more complicated electronics here. There is a seal that goes all the way around, so it's waterproof. Usually electronics has a Wi-Fi module because it requires more sensitive electronics. Interestingly, there's an Ethernet port, an internal lithium battery, and over here there's a cable that lights up the front. Overall, a simple device. We'll see how well it works. The line 1 and line 2 input cables are 6 gauge and the ground is actually a 10 gauge cable. All of these are spec'd for 600 volts. If you want to remove this tubing, pull on one of these tabs. There's 4 of them all the way around. But if you pull on even just one of them and try to wiggle it out, it will come back out. You have 2 wall backing plates, one for the holster and one for the main unit. So you need 8 screws all together. You can either mount it with a set of expanding bolts or these long screws. Each type, they give you either 9 bolts or 9 screws, so you have 1 extra of each. When you tighten the bolt, it would pull this piece in. This part right here would expand and hold it in place. This screw, you would screw directly into studs. If you are going to brick or cement, you would use this one. But because I have a lot of holes already, I'm gonna install those plates just using holes that I already have. First, mount the backing plate. It's like mounting a shelf, 4 screws. Pop it on. Put these security screws on both sides. Do you like the look of this? To me, this looks more minimalist rather than the swoopy kind of chargers. Being a square box, it blends in a little bit better in the garage, I think. Thread the wire through the tube, push this into this nozzle, and it locks in place. And the holster, pop it right on. Put the security screw on the holster. So I'm gonna unwind this so it's not touching the floor. Unwind it some more. That's just 2 loops over here. I purposely connected the breaker so I can show you the live voltage. 246 volt AC. You definitely don't want to touch that. I'm gonna turn it off. And now I only get 1 volt AC. So now it's safe to connect the wires. Thread the cables in here. Yeah, I probably need a few more inches, so I gotta cut this tube shorter. Just knock off a few inches. Reattach the hose, and now magically it's longer. So line 1 can reach all the way to this point here. Remove this shielding piece. Screw it in place. Do the same for the red wire. Make sure you get every single strand in there. It's best if you thread it all the way through to the other end so you can see a little bit peek out there just to get a good connection. Put the set screw back in. Now we do the same for the ground wire. I have a strain relief here I want to tighten too. I'm going to replace this panel, connect the jumper, close the box. The product that I receive is a hardwired version, but they do sell them in a plug version that can be converted to hardwired if you want. This allows you to, at first, connect it to a plug if you don't really want to hardwire it yet. And later on, let's say you want more charge speed at 48 amps, you can install one of these and convert to a hardwired connection without buying a new EV charger. Internally, there's a switch that'll allow you to change it from 16 amps, 32 amps, 40 amps, or 48 amps. This one is for 48 amps and you're supposed to use a 60 amp breaker. For the 48 amps, you can only do hardwired because plugs can only go up to 40 amps. Moment of truth here. If I flip this breaker, this should turn on. It beeps. It has this kind of bluish glow. Now it's green and red, green. Now we can try to pair it. Download and install the EVIQO app. Sign up for an account. I'm gonna add a new device. Turn on the Bluetooth. Allow. Start, choose Wi-Fi network, waiting connection, reconnecting back to the cloud, waiting for device online. So the Bluetooth allows it to feed the Wi-Fi information in there. And now this thing will be connected to Wi-Fi. Finish, you're all set. So the front panel allows us to change the current all the way from 0 amp, 1 amp at a time, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way to 48 amps maximum. There's also scheduling over here. Let's say I want to only charge between 6 and 7 p.m. So I select the schedule, status, turn it on, period. Every single day, start at 6 p.m. stop at 7 p.m. I'm gonna turn off plug and charge because I just want it to schedule. And we're all set. I'd say the app is pretty intuitive. It's pretty snappy, and I'd say the user interface is pretty nice. Let me plug it in and see if it actually starts at 6 p.m. You can see the charger is kind of in that corner of the garage. Let me grab the cable. Usually I want it to lay on the ground and not on the car because you don't want to scratch it up. Because I own a Tesla, I need a converter from this J1772 connector. Plug this in, we go over here, tap this to open it and plug it in. So it reaches easily, and there's a little bit of extra room too for this 25-foot cable. And if there's a car on this spot, I can easily plug it in here as well. But I'd say from one corner of the garage all the way to the farthest corner, it might be a little difficult because this cable would have to kind of reach over the car and touch the paint. Remember, if your car does charge scheduling like this Tesla does, you have to remove all of it so the scheduling is not conflicting. You either use one or the other. In this case, I'm gonna use the EVIQO ones. We plug it in and it says we can start charging. Let me start it. The car sounds like it's charging. It says a voltage of 247.96. After some time, we see the power is ramping up at 0.85 kilowatt, 3 kilowatt. Usually it takes a little time to ramp up all the way to 48 amps. Okay, so it's steady at around 48 now. Let's say I want to change it to just 20 amps right now on the fly. 20 amps. See what happens. Okay, it drops right to 20. Go back up and it comes right back at 48 amps. Let me stop it. I heard the EV charger click back there, and then my car also disengaged the charge port. Sometimes I like to restart the charge. Let's say I'm on vacation and I leave the car at home for a long period of time. I don't want anything to error out, so I want to be able to turn off the charger remotely. And once in a while, maybe the car loses charge and I need to top it up a little bit. I want to restart it now. And it does restart, so that's a good thing. And then now we can see some statistics on here. We didn't charge very much, only 0.27 kilowatt. We have 5 charge sessions already because I turned it on and off many times. This is kind of nice because then you can kind of figure out how much energy you've been using to charge your car. Electricity plan, I know it cost me about 40 cents. The charger has been on for about 1 hour now. The output cable is 107 degrees. The top of the box is 90 degrees, 100 at the top here. I can still touch it. It's warm to the touch, but not hot. And the input cable is cooler at 86. My breaker is pretty warm at 96 degrees. And if I follow the cable, 99 degrees here, and it comes all the way over here to the car. 100 there. The handle is not too hot, 83 degrees. Pretty reasonable. It's been charging at 48 amps for close to an hour now. It's a few seconds away from the time it's supposed to turn off. I'm gonna see what it looks like when it triggers itself. Okay, it turns off by itself. There are 2 status lights here, blinking, and different colors means different things. Conforms to UL standard .2594. The charger itself has waterproofing. However, you have to take care that this cable connection here is also waterproof if you install this outside. This product has really high ratings on Amazon right now, 4.9 stars and 641 reviews. If you guys are interested in this EVIQO Level 2 charger, check out my affiliate link down in the video description below.